Welcome to 4.2, side, 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 side angle, side, and hypotenuse leg. We're going to start with side, side, side. And what side, side, side is, it's a shortcut to figuring out if triangles are congruent. So three sides of one triangle are congruent to three sides of the other. We automatically know the triangles are congruent, right? We don't have to check all the angle pairs. We just need three pairs of sides. So here AB is congruent to DE, and AC is congruent to DF, and finally BC is congruent to EF. We have three pairs of congruent sides, so we can say these triangles are congruent because of side, side, side. Our next one, we need to know what an included angle is. It's just the angle between two sides. Okay, so here, side angle side, the idea is that there's two sides and its included angle are congruent to two sides and the included angle of a different triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So here we have two sides, the angle between them. The idea here is AB is congruent to DF, angle A is congruent to angle D, and AC is congruent to DE. We have two pairs of sides and the angle in between, so we can say the triangles are congruent by SAS. Our last one, we need to know a little bit about a right triangle. First off, you have a right angle, 90 degrees. You have two legs, and the hypotenuse is always the side across from the 90. So the hypotenuse leg theorem states that if the hypotenuse and a leg of a right triangle are congruent to the hypotenuse and a leg of a second right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So here we have right triangle, because both angle B and E are 90. We have the hypotenuse, which is AC is congruent to DF, and we have a leg, which is AB is congruent to DE. So we can say that the triangles are congruent by hypotenuse leg. So how do we use these? Well, the question here, it states, are the triangles congruent? If they are, state your reason. The first one, the triangles are congruent because we have three pairs of sides. So that would be side, side, side. You don't actually write that it is congruent. Side, side, side automatically assumes that. For a second one to the top right, what we see is a reflexive side, so we can go ahead and mark that. You can always mark your reflexive sides and your vertical angles immediately, and then figure out if it's congruent. We have two pairs of right angles, so they are right triangles. We have a pair of legs, and we have a hypotenuse. So this is HL. Bottom left, we have one pair of sides and one pair of angles. There is not an AS or SA one, so this is just not congruent. In the bottom right, we have a pair of vertical angles we can go ahead and mark, and this would make it side angle side. A couple of questions ask you what else is needed. First thing you need to know is what we actually have. And we have a pair of sides, which is IT and IJ. Then we have a reflexive side, and we can go ahead and mark that as IK is congruent to itself. So the question, what do we actually need? Well, we need another pair of sides. So in this question, we need TK is congruent to JK. And that is our final answer. That bottom one is our only answer. The other two just help us to get there. What else is needed in side angle side? Well, we have a pair of sides, which is WR and SR. We have a pair of vertical angles, and we can go ahead and mark those. So what we actually need in this, we have a pair of sides and a pair of angles. We need another pair of sides touching that angle. So we need YR is congruent to QR. All right, just to get you started on proofs, you always start with what is given. So AB is congruent to DE. The second one, B is congruent, angle B is congruent to angle E, is just given. And our final given is BC is congruent to EF. This is one of those easier questions where most of it's given. Now we just have to figure out why the triangles are congruent. Well, AB is congruent to DE, that's a pair of sides. B is congruent to E, that's a pair of angles. And BC is congruent to EF, that's a pair of sides. So this is actually side angle side. Our next proof, you always start again with what's given. BC is congruent to DA, and BC is parallel to AD. Well, whenever you see parallel, you should automatically think of alternate interior angles and corresponding angles. And in this question, we have a pair of alternate interior angles. That's DAC is congruent to BCA, because they're on opposite sides inside the angles due to the parallel lines. Next, we have the reflexive side, which is AC is congruent to itself. So again, that's reflexive. And then we got to figure out what do we have. Well, BC congruent to DA, that's a pair of sides. Angle DAC is congruent to angle BCA, that's a pair of angles. And then AC is congruent to itself, that's a pair of sides. So the triangles are congruent by side angle side again. Good luck on the practice and application. See you in lesson.